are going to discuss and the talk about one important issue in this FDP, that is the optimization techniques and the tools for the manufacturing systems. So under this broad area, I had taken up one problem, and this is a very relevant problem today. We call this problem as the remanufacturing supply chain system optimization. So the outlines of this presentation is here. One is the environment friendly business. Second, use tire environmental issue. Then tire manufacturing supply chain system. Then optimization technique and tools. And then tactical level remanufacturing supply chain system planning. So these are some broad contour of the this presentation. So first, I am going to introduce what is the problem. So as you know that we are concerned with the development of the world, say your country, your region, and so on. So for the development, what we are doing some economic activities, and our concern is normally about the economic growth of the region or the country or the world. So this economic growth needs some economic activity, and the economic activity is going to uh, require some resources. So basically, we are consuming resources in order to achieve the economic growth. And most of the metrics of the progress or the economic progress of the world is that how much quantity of a particular resource you are going to consume. More you consume, and more you are advanced in the spectrum of the economic growth. For example, we have divided the world into certain category. One category is the developed world, and another category is developing world, and then we have the another category as the underdeveloped world. So what is the difference that in the advanced countries or the developed world, we are having more consumptions of the resources. For example, in the Europe or the Western countries, we have the measure of the progress or the growth, that is the per capita consumption. So obviously, for example, one uh, resource is the energy. So if we are consuming more energy, then we are more advanced or the more developed nation. So due to this concept of the development that we have to consume more resources, so it created some problems, and those problems may be the environmental problem, and there are some social problem also. So we are creating a lot of problem which are very concerned to the human being. So nowadays, and we are talking about the development should be sustainable development. So we have to keep in mind that whatever we are going to consume the resources, and those resources are limited, and limited resources are not for our generation; they are also for the future generation. If we consume more resources at a rapid rate, so we are going to consume all the resources in a very small time frame. Then after that time frame, the future generation was not be able to consume, cannot fulfill their needs for those resources. So we must be consume at some optimal way. And also, since we are consuming more resources, so we are damaging the environment. So we need to also protect the environment. And beside these two dimensions, there is another third dimension. And that dimension is the social dimension. So, what is the impact of the society on the resource consumption? So, the sustainable development is that development which are going to meet the requirement of the present generation as well as the future generation. And we are taking the all the three dimension of the development: economic dimension, the environmental dimension, and the social dimensions. So we have to keep in mind these three dimensions whenever we are going to talk about the development. Similarly, there is another concept nowadays that is known as the circular economy. So, in order to consume resources in optimum manner, we need to avoid the linear economy. So, linear economy means we have extracted resources, we have made some product, we have consumed the product, and after that, we are going to throw away that product without considering the impact of throwing of that product on the economic activity as well as on the what we say on the environmental effect. So we have to discard this practice, and we need to prolong the life of the resources and the utilization of the resources. And so we need to have a closed economy where we are extracting the material, and from the virgin material we are going to make the product, we are going to use the product, we are going to enhance the life of the product so that there should be maximum utilization of the virgin material. After when it is not possible to use the product, then we are going to extract the value from the product, and we are going to use whatever extracted value is in the economy. So we need not to discard the product made from the virgin material. We have to use the material of the original product. This is known as the circular economy. So we are living in the era of the circular economy as well as sustainable development. So in that context, this area and the problem which I had mentioned is very important. So and due to this practice of discarding the product, it is creating the environmental problem. And due to this, we are getting one problem that is known as the carbon emission problem. So we are discarding material, and due to that discard of the used product, we are emitting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And since there is a rise in the CO2 level in the atmosphere, so there is rise in the temperature of environment also. So it is creating enormous problem. So the United Nations convened a conference, and there was some deliberation and some agreement among the various countries. So on the basis of those agreements, India imposed the carbon tax of 50 rupees per ton on the produced or the imported coal on July 1, 2010. Similarly, in 2015, UN climate agreement reached there, and India, USA, European Union, Japan, Russia, Canada, and China declared their carbon emission reduction target by 33% to 35%, 42%, 0 to 30%, 25%, 15 to 25%, 70% respectively. So nowadays, this is one of the important problem to reduce the carbon emission, and we have to take the balance between these two conflicting objective, that we want the economic growth, and second objective is that due to those UN climate agreement, the various governments are going to impose the carbon tax on the carbon emission on the industries. So we have to balance these two factors, economic growth and the carbon emission. So this is one of the important problem which are going to address nowadays. So among those various products which we are going to use, one important product is the automobile. So whatever economic activity is happening nowadays, that need transportation of goods and services from one location to another location, and this is a very important sector of the economy. And all the transportation of goods and passengers are through some vehicles, and those are known as the automobile vehicles. And the one important components of the automobile vehicle is the tire. So the vehicle has the wheel, and wheel has the tire, which remains in contact with the road. And it due to these tires, vehicle is able to move from one location to another location. So this tire has broadly a specific structure, and we can uh, divide this structure into two basic component. One component is known as the casing, another component is the tread. So tread is one component which comes into contact with the road, and its job is to keep to provide the grip on the road to the vehicle, as well as provide the traction for the movement of the vehicle. So obviously there is a lot of tires which are used in world over the world. So tire sale in 2015 in India was 19.7 million tires, and out of this production, 60% of the tire is for the replacement market of the used tire. So here you can see there is enormous amount of the tire is produced in the world, and around 40% is gone to the new vehicle, whereas 60% is used into the old vehicles after for the changing the used tire from by the a new tire. Now the problem is that the casing has a very long life. It is around 120 1.25 lakh kilometer, whereas the life of tread is around 40,000 kilometer. So obviously when a tread is worn out, we need to replace the tire from the new tire. But the casing has enough life which are not used. So both the casing as well as tread is made from some virgin material. So what we are doing that we are discarding this tire, and the casing has still around 80,000 kilometer life. So, but another important economic aspect is that whatever is the economic value of the new tire, and the 70% of value of this tire is from the casing, whereas all tread provide only 30% value. So if we use the tire and tread is worn out, and we discard and replace the old used tire, so what we are doing? We are throwing away 70% economic value in the dump yard. So this is one major economic loss. And what other thing is that we are causing the various environmental problem by discarding it. in the junkyard. So there are so many environmental problems. It is going to increase the carbon dioxide emission. It is going to increase the air and water pollution. It is a human health hazard. And also we are increasing the energy consumption. So obviously we are going to use the energy to make the new tire. So we are consuming more energy. And also since the material from the for this tire is made from the crude oil derivatives, so we are going to increase the demand of the crude oil. Also we have to throw away these tire dump into the landfill. So we are increasing the demand of the landfill space. So obviously these are the important problem due to which we are losing the very significant amount of the economic value of the tire. And we are from the Indian perspective, we are going to increasing the raw material import of the for India. So we are losing the foreign exchange on this account of also. And we have the transportation industry using the trucks. So this tire cost is the third largest cost for the transportation cost for the transporters. So obviously we are going to bear a significant economic loss by discarding the used tire, and we are creating some environmental problem. So what we can do? We have to recover the economic value of the tire to avoid all these things. So what we can do? Only the worn out component is the tread one. So if we change the tread after wearing of this element, so we can use the casing again. So remanufacturing is that we are going to provide the tread on the used tire so that we can use the same casing and the tire become as similar to the new tire. So this is known as the tire remanufacturing. So second thing is that tire remanufacturing supply chain system. So this slide shows the tire remanufacturing. So obviously we have the used tire. From the used tire, we remove the tread. So we have only the casing now. Now we take a new tread and we join the tread over the casing. So we get a tire which is known as the remanufactured tire, and this is similar to a new tire, and the life and the warranty, all those things are similar to a newer tire. So from the used tire we have made a remanufactured tire by changing the tread only. So this is known as the remanufacturing. So how this remanufacturing is carried out is shown in this slide. So it is known as the tire remanufacturing supply chain system. So obviously there are some elements here. On extreme left you can see one element represented by I. So this element is the used tire collectors. So used tire collectors collect the used tires, and then a second stage is known as the initial deposit facility. So used tires collectors are going to deposit at the these used tire at some facilities, and these are known as the initial deposit facilities. From here, we are going to send these used tire to another type of the facility that is known as the cross dock facility. So we are several collectors. From several collectors, we are going to collect the tire at some nearest collection center. From several collection centers, there are few cross-dock pool facility. We are going to collect the used tire, and after that, another layer is known as the remanufacturing plant, where we are going to remanufacture the tire. So from the cross-dock pool facility, we are going to send these used tire to the one of the remanufacturing plant, and there we are going to replace the used the old worn out trade, and we get the new remanufactured tire, and it is similar to the new tire, and all the warranty conditions given to a new tires are applicable it here, and the performance of this remanufactured tire is same as the new tire. And where from the remanufacturing plant, we are going to send the remanufactured tire to the market to sell to the customers. So all these things needs to plan the production of the remanufactured tire. So obviously, the important points for this is that one important aspect for consideration is that carbon management is a major challenge. This is one important aspect. Second thing is that we have to recover the used tire value, so that we can avoid the economic losses as well as the environmental challenges posed by the discarding the tire. And for these consideration, we need some tools so that we can plan the production or of the remanufacturing of the tires. So the goal of here is to develop carbon compliant tire remanufacturing supply chain planning models to help tire remanufacturing companies. And we are going, so we have the three types of the planning. One is known as the strategic planning, second is known as the tactical planning, and third is the operational level planning. So out of these three planning related to tire remanufacturing, we are going to deal with here the tactical level planning of the tire remanufacturing. So now in the section 3, we are going to talk about what are the optimization techniques and the tools for tire remanufacturing tactical level supply chain planning. So the one important issue is what is the optimization. So obviously in the mathematics, computer science, economics, or the management science, mathematical optimization or the mathematical programming is the selection of the best element with regard to some objective from some set of available alternatives. Here one word is the programming. So programming does not means to computer programming. Rather, it means the modeling or the planning of the activities to obtain an optimal results among all feasible alternatives or the result. So a problem or the solution procedure which aims to find the optimal solution to the objective function or the functions under constraint is known as the optimization. So optimization problem may be a maximizing type or the minimizing type of a real function or a number of real functions which are going to having some constraint. So we have the typical optimization problem such as How can a dress manufacturer lay out its pattern on the rolls of the cloth to minimize wasted material? How many elevators should be installed in a new office building to achieve an expected waiting time? What is the lowest cost formula for chicken food which will provide a required quantity of necessary minerals and other nutrients? What is the generation plan for the power plant during the next 6 hours? So these are some problems. Similarly, we have already taken one problem among the several problem. What is the uh, production plan of the remanufacturing of the used tires? So optimization, the mathematical programs looks like this. So we have a functions f, and the variables are x1, x2 up to xn. And this function here we have seen that minimize this function. This may be some maximization of the function also. And subject to these constraints g1, it may be equal to, it may be greater than or less than b1. Similarly, we have the constant g2 and gm. So this is some representation of the problem in a mathematical language, or the mathematics. So this is a mathematical model of some optimization problem. Now the one technique is known as the linear programming problems, or the models, which is relevant to our problem. So what is the linear programming? So a linear programming model seeks to maximize or minimize a linear function subject to a set of linear constraints. The linear model consists of the following components: a set of decision variables, an objective function, and a set of constraints. So this linear programming is very important, and modern world involving the industry has around 70% of the problem can be solved by the linear programming problem. And the successful applications of this LPP is in manufacturing, marketing, finance, advertisement, agriculture, and so many other fields. So these linear program are efficient solution technique that solve linear programming models, and output generated from linear programming package provides useful what if analysis. Now we are talking about some assumptions which are required in the linear programming model. So linear programming assumption is that all functions are linear. So we have shown here one function of variable x1, x2 up to the xn, and this function can be expressed by c1 x1 plus c2 x2 plus cn xn. So this function is linear. So what is the meaning of linear or the linearity? It is going to have some properties. One property is proportionality, second property is additivity, third is divisibility, and third is the certainty, and the continuity. So continuity means a variable can take any value within a given feasible range of the variable. So what is the proportionality? In linear programming, the contribution of each activity to the value of the objective function z is the proportional to the level of activity xj, as represented by the multiplication of cj and the xj. The contribution of each activity to left hand side of each function constant is proportional to the level of activity xj, and this Assumptions imply that all the x terms of the linear equation cannot have exponent greater than 1. Second assumption is the additivity. So it means that there are no interaction between the decision variable. So one terms of the function has only one variable, and the exponent of variable must be 1. It should not be greater than 1. Next thing is that certainty. We have the model parameters, and the model parameters are the coefficients of objective function as well as the coefficients of the functional constraints. So these are certain. It means these are having a crisp value or the constant value, and these are known. Another important assumption is the divisibility. So decision variables in LP models are allowed to have any values, including the non-integer values that satisfy the functional and non-negativity constraint. It means that the activities can be take the value at the fractional level. So we have the standard form of linear programming model. So there are some important aspects. The objective in this standard form is minimization. All the variables are non-negative and all other constraints are equalities. So we can see the standard form is shown here. So we have a function z. It is going to be minimized, and we can represent the function as c1x1 plus c2x2 plus and up to cn xn. So there are x1, x2 and xn n variable in this model, and subject to constraint a11 x1, a12 x2 plus a1 and xn should be less than equal to b1. This is first constraint, and so on. And lastly, we have the constraint xi should be greater than equal to 0. It means it should not be negative 1 for I range from 1 to n. So other variant may be the maximize z rather than the minimize the z as shown here. So the standard problem can be shown here in the concise way. To minimize function z and summation from j equal to 1 to n cj xj, and subject to constraint sigma j1 j from varying from 1 to n, and aij xj should less than equal to bi, where I varies from 1 to m, and the xj should be greater than equal to 0, and j is going to vary from 1 to n. So we have the n variables in this model x1, x2 up to xn. So second model we can have we have the decision variable x1 to xn. Z is the objective function. Here we have taken the maximization of the linear function z subject to following constraint. So next issue is that how we are going to formulate the optimization model for optimization. So we can formulate the optimization problem following the step. First is the describe the problem in words. So you have to think out what is the problem and describe the problem in the words, as I had already described the problem. So you can see again. So we have described here the problem in the world to develop carbon compliant tire remanufacturing supply chain planning models to help tire remanufacturing companies. So what we are going to do to develop carbon compliant tactical level supply chain planning model. Second step is we have to define the symbol. So we have to identify what are the variables, what are the parameters, and we have to provide the different symbols to the various variable as well as the various parameters. Then third step is write the problem mathematically. Now from the problem which is written in the words, you have to translate the problem into the mathematical terminology. For example, we have this problem. So a manufacturer has a number of factories are shown in the left side, and we have shown the customer on the right side. So here problem we have defined in the word. A manufacturer owns a number of factory. How should the manufacturer transport his product to the customers? So we have already defined the problem in the word. So how should the product be shipped in order to minimize the transportation cost? And the following must be fulfilled. The factory cannot produce more than their production capacity. So factory has some upper limit of production. So factory cannot produce more than that. Another important thing is that the customer must at least receive their demand. So the demand of the customer must be fulfilled. This is another important aspect. So we have defined the problem into the words. Now second step is to define this symbol. So we have to define where index and the parameter. So we are using the symbol M for the factories. Factory I has a specific factory I has capacity AI, and we are defining the total number of customer by the small n, where a total number of factory by capital N, and we are showing the customer by the J symbol. So for the customer Jth, demand is Bj units of the product, and we are going to define the one parameter. The transportation cost from factory I to customer J is Cij per unit. Now we are going to define the variables. So variable is let Xij. So I can change from 1 to m, whereas j can change from 1 to n. So Xij is the number of product transported from factory I to customer J. So in this second step, we have defined the symbol, what are the index, what are the parameters, and what are the variables. Now in the third step, we are going to formulate the problem in mathematical terminology. So obviously our objective function is the transportation cost. So we have formulated the objective function as the here transportation cost. It is the double summation. First summation is for the factories I from 1 to m, and second summation is for the customer J from 1 to n, and the transportation cost from 1 I to j is variable Xij, number of product shipped from factory I to the customer J, and the cost of shipment is Ij. So product of these two is the transportation cost from the factory I to customer J. Now we are going to sum all these costs So we get a objective function, that is the transportation cost. Then objective function is going to be subjected to certain costs. One constant is the production capacity, and we have modeled this as a summation j from 1 to n, and xij it should be less than equal to ai. So the whatever production we are going to do, this should be the production less than or equal to the production capacity of the plant. So for the ith factory, we have the production capacity limit ai. Similarly, for we have another constant, that is the demand constant. So what we have, the xij summation should be greater than equal to bj. So we have to meet the demand of the customer, and we have shown by this expression. Now third is the non-negativity constant. Xij should be greater than equal to 0. So obviously if some product is transported from factory I to factory J, so it is a positive quantity. Or if there is no transportation, it is the zero quantity. So this variable can take value either the g or some positive value. It cannot take the negative value. So we have put these constant also. So we have this objective function and the transportation. And now we are showing the optimization problem in the standard form. So we have to minimize the transportation cost subject to production capacity constraint, and the demand constraint and non-negativity constraint. So this way we have formulated the mathematical model of the problem. So next section I am going to deal with another important aspects of this programming, the modeling of the problem. So second technique which is used in the optimization is known as the integer programming technique. So we have one problem, you can see that. So there is some company, Bharat Green EcoBus, is considering whether to purchase a small electric bus or the large electric bus or combination of two. So they had to decide to buy at most 2 small electric buses. So the here question is that how many small electric bus of each type should a company purchase to maximize their profit? So here how many bus to be purchased? This is the question. So this is an example. Our decision variable can take the values which are integer in nature. So we can add the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, 10,000 and so on. Okay, but it can we cannot represent a bus. One and 1.1, we can represent one bus. We cannot represent 1.5 bus or 1.75 bus or 1.25 bus. So number of bus must be an integer quantity. So this example shows that the integrality property is very desirable here. It means the variable must be integer quantity. It cannot be continuous or the fractional quantity. So a linear programming model involve one assumptions, that is the divisibility. So divisibility means we can have the fractional value that satisfy the functional and non-negativity constraints. So that is acceptable here. So the LP programming problem have no restriction on the integrality. So the variable can have the integral value, or it can have the continuous value. or the fractional value. But in this particular specific application, to purchase the bus, how many buses you are going to purchase? So this means that the number of buses to be purchased must be integer quantity. It should not be the continuous or the fractional quantity. Similarly, in the case of tire in manufacturing, we had number of tires to be remanufactured. So they must be the integer quantity. They cannot be the fractional quantity or the continuous quantity. We have the one tire or the two tire. We cannot say the 2.1 tire, 2.2 tire, or 2.3 tire, 2.5 tire, or 2.7 tire, or 2.8 tire. So it should be either 2 tire or 3 tire. It must be the integer quantity. But this LP is going to violate this principle. So we cannot get the optimal solution using the linear programming models of such situations. So to avoid to resolve this problem, there is another technique in optimization which is known as the integer programming problem. So this integer programming problem is going to provide a solution which is giving the value to the variable having the integral value, not the fractional value or the continuous value. So integer programming problem can be of several types. Among those problems, we have the one as the pure integer programming problem. So in this problem, pure integer programming problem, we have all the variables integer. It is going to deal with the all variable having the integer value. Then we are calling it as the pure integer programming. Whereas there is another types of this integer programming that is known as mixed integer programming problem. So in this mixed integer programming problem, what we have, this program integer programming can have both type of the variables. Some variables may be the integer, can have the integer value, and some may have the continuous or the fractional value. So when this happens, this is known as the mixed integer programming. Another type of problem is known as the 0-1 programming or the binary integer programming. So this is one specific programming where all the variables can take the either the 0 value or the 1 value for the variable. So this is known as the binary integer programming or the 0-1 integer programming problem. So we have the decision. Sometimes we have to take the decision that whether we have got the a used tire, and this we have to decide whether we have to remanufacture this tire or not. So when we have to take this type of decision, it is the binary decision variable, either remanufacture or not, 0-1. Okay, so this type of variables are known as the binary variables. So in comparison to the linear programming problem, this integer programming problem is very hard to solve, and it takes the exponential solution times as the number of variables and the constraints are going to be increased. And so we can define the complexity of the analysis. So P4, the algorithms which takes the deterministic polynomial time whereas NP means non-deterministic polynomial time algorithm. We cannot determine the time for computation. So we can get the solution from the LP by just we are getting the fractional value of the variable. We can round off that variable to get the integer value, but that will not be the optimal solution. So in the integer or the mixed integer programming problem, we can have this form that in the mixed integer linear programming, we have to minimize this objective function subject to constant, and where this x is belong to the feasible solution space. So we have the some techniques which can be used for the integer programming problem solving. So basically there are two top techniques. One is the cutting plane techniques, Gomri cutting plane technique, and second is the branch and bound technique. And then third, we can use the cutting plane technique as well as the branch and bound technique. And for the real life problem, we have to deal with a number of a lot of variables and the constraints. So it is very difficult to develop the program so that we can solve the problem, the integer programming problem. So we can use the MATLAB with one software where we can develop the program to solve the integer programming problem. And but this is very difficult. Those who know the programming, they can do this using the MATLAB. But there are some commercial available software where you can write your problem in mathematical terms, and then software can solve the problem. So we have a number of companies which are going to provide these commercial software. One is the Cplex, and the name of the software is Cplex. And another company is IBM. It is going to provide a software that is the optimization software library. Then there is another third company, that is the Lindo System Inc. It is providing the software in the name of Lindo. And then we have the Dash Associates. This provide the software Express MP. And then we have the Sunset Software Technology. It is providing the EXA software, and then Advanced Mathematical Software LAMPS. So these are the commercially available software. You have to just write your mathematical model in this software, and this software is going to solve the model. So we can use the MATLAB for the programming the your mathematical model and its solution. We have the another software that is known as the Scilab. So these are some optimization tools where you can solve your mathematical model, either the linear programming model or the integer programming model. Now we are coming to the application of this technique to solve our problem. So we need to perform tactical level supply chain system planning. Whatever the issues in this study are to develop supply chain tactical planning model with carbon tax. So we have the two objective function. One is the maximum business profit, and second is the minimum carbon emission cost. And we have to find out what are the regular or the overtime remanufacturing quantity of the different product types during each time periods. Second, the shipment quantity of product between the elements during each time period. And third, a quantity of the each product at each elements during each time period. Fourth, back order quantity of each product during each time period. So back order quantity means the customer has given some order in a specific time period for delivery, but the manufacturer is not able to deliver that product in that time period due to some reason, and so he is going to deliver the product in the next period. So we are calling that quantity of the product shipped to the customer as the back order quantity. Now we have to also we are going to find out some research issues. What is the impact of carbon tax on this tactical supply chain planning? And we have to perform the profit emission objective trade-off analysis used to make decision on carbon emission reduction technology. And we have to design the carbon saving indices to evaluate technology investment. So this is a supply chain system which we have modeled here, so that we can get the used tire from the owners of used tires, and we are going to remanufacture the tire in the remanufacturing plant, and we have to sell these remanufactured tires to various customers in the market. So there are some various characteristics which we are going to have in the model. So we have the two types of the aspect: reconfigurable supply chain aspects. Among these, we have the location aspects and the capacity aspects, and we have other aspects. So these are some assumptions of the model, and we have these objective functions. One objective function is the business objective, profit. So we have the two components: the business revenue and the business cost. Then we have the carbon tax policy. Due to this, we have the carbon cost, and we have the carbon tax reward policy, and then we have the carbon tax reward forex saving policy. And these are the constants which are so basically so carbon reward policy, what is this? So obviously in the for this policy we are going to provide some reward to the due to the remanufacturing of the tire as well as the transportation. So this remanufacturing of the tire is going to reduce the carbon emission which are due to the remanufacturing in the remanufacturing plant and the transportation from one element to another element. So due to this, we are going to, government should give incentive to for the tire remanufacturing. So this policy is known as the carbon tax reward policy. Similarly, if we remanufacture the tire, so we are going to save the imported raw material for new tire in India. So we are going to save the foreign exchange for India. So this remanufacturing industry is providing two benefit to the India. One is that it is going to reduce the carbon emission, so it should get some incentive for that aspect. Second aspect is that it is going to reduce the requirement of foreign exchange of the India. So we must promote this practice in India, and so some reward government should give to the tire remanufacturing industry. So these policy first is known as the carbon tax reward policy, whereas a second policy is known as carbon tax reward forex saving policy. Now we have considered a number of constraints here. One constraint is the use product supplier assignment. So we have a number of initial deposit facility, and we have a use product supplier. So we have to assign each supplier to a specific deposit collection center. So this is one constraint. Second is the backflow avoidance constraint. So from the collection center, there should be no backflow of the used tire. It means to the used tire suppliers. Then third constraint is that from the collection center. So distance between the used product supplier and the collection center, there should be the maximum allowed distance. So this should be considered in the assignment of the use product supplier. Then how many there should be minimum and maximum number of the collection center limit. This is also constraint. Then there should be a material flow balance at each collection center. Then there is a cross dock pool facility. So there should be minimum and maximum number of number constraint for these cross dock pool facility. Then there should be some maximum capacity of this element CDPF. Then there should be some material flow balance at this facility CDPF. Then we have the other constraint, the maximum storage capacity. So there should be at each remanufacturing plant, there should be maximum storage capacity for the used tire as well as the remanufactured tire. And then each remanufacturing plant has some maximum production capacity. And also we have to balance at each remanufacturing plant the number of used tire, store tire, finished tire, and recycled tire. And we have to also have some demand constraint, back order quantity constraint, storage constraint, and production balance at a remanufacturing plant. And then we have the constraint that is the maximum amount of the back order quantity. Then we must have to have some service level constraint. So we must have some safety stock so that we can fulfill the customer demand at the distributors.
Lokesh Kumar sir, very thankful to you sparing your valuable time for sharing your views, experience regarding optimization techniques in the manufacturing systems. Very thanks, sir.
Okay, thank you very much to giving me this opportunity.